So once you do get these requests, are they usually, do you just email them and say, hey, I could talk about that? Or do you have to send them sort of like a fleshed out idea a little bit?
Oh, you absolutely should not do what you just suggested. Just say, hey, I know something about this. If you'd like to know more, get back to me. So what you want to, there's actually really great, the way I've had the most success in HARO is by providing responses that meet 3 criteria.
Welcome to the Wear, Wag, Repeat podcast. I'm Tori Mystic. As a dog mom lifestyle expert, blogger, and business owner, I love talking to other women in the pet industry and sharing their advice with you every week. Sit, stay, and listen to the latest episode.
In this episode, I'm talking to Dawn LaFountaine. She started her business, Cat in the Box, about 3 years ago after realizing that there was a need for fun, safe, and stylish cardboard box playhouses for cats. We start by talking about her inspiration for this product and the science behind why cats love cardboard boxes. I was totally fascinated. Then we dive into another area of Dawn's expertise, which is getting free press coverage for her business. She uses Help a Reporter Out, aka HARO, to pitch her expertise as a cat lover and business owner, and has received a ton of coverage, including the Boston Globe, Pop Sugar, and Reader's Digest. We talk about the many benefits of press coverage beyond just getting sales. And Dawn generously shares all of her tips for successfully landing these types of features. Have you ever received exciting press coverage for your pet business? Come tell us about it in the Wear, Wag, Repeat Labs Facebook group. This week, I set up a thread for everyone to share their favorite press features, and I'm having so much fun reading them all. Come join the conversation by searching Facebook for Wear, Wag, Repeat Labs. Dawn LaFountaine is the founder of Cat in the Box, which makes whimsical cardboard box playhouses for cats who think inside the box. She's a lifelong animal lover who enjoys connecting with people who are as crazy about their pets as she is. Well, Dawn, you came to the right place.
It seems that way.
Welcome to the Wear, Wag, Repeat podcast. We're all crazy dog people. So I love talking about business, and then I love talking about pets. So I'm really excited to have you here today. And what we're going to be talking about is getting publicity and press for your business, which you have a lot of experience in. But first, would you kind of take us back and tell everyone how you got the inspiration for Cat in the Box? Because it's such a fun idea. It's such a fun name. How did this come to you?
Well, actually, it came to me when I was going to my mother's pet sitter with her. She was dropping her cats off before we went on a trip together. And I was looking around at this woman's home, beautifully appointed home. And I noticed that her living room was just cluttered with old Amazon boxes. And she saw me looking around and she said quite sheepishly, ugh, they're for the cats. Now, I've been a lifelong pet lover, a lifelong cat owner, and I already knew that cats were crazy for cardboard boxes. But it got me thinking, why do their owners put up with dirty, ugly shipping cartons in their home? And my boxes are they're clean, they're cat safe, they're super photogenic. People love to take pictures of their cats in them for social media. But more importantly, they actually meet the cat's needs. Cat owners seem to know that their cats love cardboard boxes. But what they aren't aware is there's actually some serious science that supports a cat's need for a cardboard box. So cat owners who are providing a box to their cat are actually helping to meet their biological needs.
And that they like just being inside a small enclosure or something like that?
Well, one of the most important reasons that cats love cardboard boxes is because they don't share the same thermoneutral zone that we have. So a cat's thermoneutral zone is at least 14 or up to 25 degrees hotter than ours. So when we keep our homes at an average of 72 degrees, our cats are freezing. And so they're looking for ways to make themselves warm. And one of the really great things about a cardboard box is that it has corrugations that are make it an excellent insulator. And as you pointed out, the small space inside a box encourages a cat to curl up and keep itself warm. Now, there are some other reasons too that cats love cardboard boxes, but that's probably the most important one.
Well, they probably also like being in cardboard boxes so that then they can jump out and claw someone and surprise them too.
Well, that actually, you make a good point there. So another reason that they really, really need a cardboard box is because they are predators and they need to practice their hunting skills. Even though we're going to feed them from a can in a couple hours, they need to hunt. So maybe they're hunting a little dust mote that's floating around the living room, or maybe they're hunting a spider, but they're ambush predators. So they need to be able to hide and then jump out from somewhere. So that's really the second reason that cats need a cardboard box. And maybe I'll share the third one since
go ahead.
We're up to the third one.
Here,
so the third one actually has to do with stress relief. And scientists in the Netherlands actually studied cats who were newly arrived to a Dutch animal shelter. And what she learned by giving certain cats boxes and other cats no boxes that the ones that had access to a box were less stressed. They got used to the shelter more quickly, and they were more interested in interacting with people than cats without boxes. And her conclusion was that hiding is a behavioral strategy of the species to self-relax, self-stress, de-stress. So when you're giving a cat a box, you're giving her an opportunity to soothe herself when she's stressed out.
This is so interesting. I had no idea how much science there was behind cats loving cardboard boxes. Well, and so your product, not only does it help people who have their house covered with Amazon boxes, helps them have a more stylish box, but it probably also encourages people who don't have any boxes because they don't want ugly Amazon boxes around, right. And encourages them to have a box or a structure because your boxes are really, they are whimsical and really cool. Like I like the block of cheese, but like the beach house and everything, it's so cute. And no matter what your style is, it's a huge upgrade from having an Amazon box floating around.
Well, the other advantage is too that when you're getting a box that was a shipping carton, not only is it filthy, it's been kicked around a dirty warehouse or, on and off a UPS truck, but it's imprinted with unknown inks. And that was a concern for me because cats are notorious cardboard chewers and some are consumers of cardboard. So they're really not just attracted to going into boxes, but attracted to chewing on them. So if your cat is chewing on a box and you don't know what the ink is, that might be a concern for some cat owners. And my inks are actually all human grade soy inks. So the same inks that would be on your pizza boxes or on the boxes for the cat. So you can feel comfortable if your cat's a cardboard chewer.
Right. And not to mention like the tape and other things that might be used on a shipping box. Mm-hmm. So how long have you been doing Cat in the Box?
Well, I've been in business for about 3 years, but I actually had to take a little bit of a step back for 1 year and redesign my products. When two of my products are quite large and they ship assembled. And so that was perfectly fine. We had with the shipping rates that existed at the time that I created them. But then the post office effectively eliminated one of the most important rate that I use. And I had to go back and redesign the boxes so that they were more compact and I could ship them in a smaller shipping carton.
Oh, yeah. That's an interesting problem. You wouldn't think that.
I didn't think it wouldn't be a problem. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So you've been doing this for about 3 years, give or take. Mm-hmm. And in that time, you've managed to get a lot of press coverage. I was looking at your press section of your website and I'm like scrolling and scrolling and scrolling.
Oh, thanks.
You've gotten a lot of coverage. So talk to us a little bit about that. What are some of the benefits and maybe some of the disadvantages of getting this kind of free press?
Well, there are no real disadvantages except that it's time consuming to do. And for me, I actually have a writing background. So when people are thinking about, some people who have e-commerce sites are, really great programmers or they're graphic designers, and they can really lean into those skill sets, which I have none of those skills. But the one thing that comes easily for me is writing. So I would tend to, something that might take somebody else a lot longer to do, I can whip out in a few minutes. It really isn't a big time suck for me personally. So that's the one skill that I was leaning into. So for no disadvantage to me for doing it, but for someone else, it may be a struggle for them, and they might find it frustrating. And the advantages of it, other than the obvious advantage, which is if you get into the right publication at the right time. I was recently actually in the Sunday Boston Globe. My product, it's a gingerbread house for cats, was on the front page of a section on gifts that were made in New England, which is where I live.
Right.
And so that resulted in hundreds and hundreds of sales in a single day. And so I don't think you can count on that kind of response, but every now and then you get lucky, and that's what happens. So for all the other press coverage that I've received that did not receive any immediate sales, there are other advantages for people like me who primarily run an e-commerce store. And the most important one, I would say, is the domain authority. And I'm sure you know something about that. And but basically, the more backlinks that you get, it increases, and especially when they're from quality media outlets, it improves your domain authority. And that, in the end, makes Google more likely to show my blog posts to people or my products to people. And so it's a sort of a backhanded or back alley way of getting a benefit from a bit of media coverage.
Yeah. And it's a lot more like authentic than, as a blogger, I get so many emails from people saying, "Oh, I saw you have this article about blah, blah, blah. Can you add my link to it?"
Yes.
And I'm like, no, why would I do that?
Yes, I get those as well.
Yeah. So going out and getting press coverage from even small outlets can be really good for your domain authority. So that's a really good point. So one of the avenues, a lot of people might say, well, how do I actually get this press coverage? Do I have to go knock on the door at the Wall Street Journal or something? But you don't. There's something called HARO, and that's Help a Reporter Out, if people aren't familiar with it. And I told you before we hit record that I've used it off and on over the years. It can be overwhelming how many requests there are for that. But tell us a little bit, what is HARO and how does it work?
Well, sure. So HARO is a free service. And what it does is connects reporters to subject matter experts. So there are two sides to HARO. Basically, the one side are the bloggers, the journalists who submit queries. And the other side are the subject matter experts, the PR professionals, ordinary citizens who just want to see themselves in real or virtual print. So you sign up, as you mentioned, for these newsletters, and signing up is free. And once you do sign up, you will get overwhelmed with newsletters from HARO 3 times a day. You don't have to read them all. You don't have to open them all, but you will get them. And the newsletter is basically a list of all the stories that some journalist or reporter has got in the works. And they're looking for content for those stories. So if you think that you have something that you want to say about one of those stories, you can just click on the hyperlink that is within the little request, and it will bring you to a short paragraph that describes in more detail what the reporter is looking for, what her deadline is or his deadline, what publication they are writing for, and then you can respond from there.
And are there any red flags in there of things that are not worth it to click on, or do you think they're all good options?
Well, there's sort of 2 categories of things. One are genuine media outlets, actual newspapers and magazines or blogs, and all they're looking for is content. There are some bloggers, however, who are looking for products in exchange for a backlink, and some of those are no follow links, and this is a little too deep for this.
We're getting into the weeds now. Yeah.
There are advantages to still participating in those. And it really depends on what kind of products you have to sell, what your goals are, and even, frankly, the cost of your products. If they're not too expensive, sometimes it's not, you might get something out of it for a very, modest investment. So that's a personal decision that you have to make after thinking about it a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because it's exactly what I was thinking. Is I've seen some requests that are for gift guides, and
Right.
they want they're very explicit. They say you must send, this item to us and we will not return it to you, and da, 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 da. And right. I was always hesitant to do anything like that. But there are a ton of things that are just asking for expert advice.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so those are really great. So once you do get these requests, are they usually, do you just email them and say, hey, I could talk about that? Or do you have to send them sort of like a fleshed out idea a little bit?
Oh, you absolutely should not do what you just suggested. Just say, hey, I know something about this. If you'd like to know more, get back to me. So, what you want to, there's actually really great, the way I've had the most success in HARO is by providing responses that meet 3 criteria. The first criteria is that it is a fast response. So everybody knows about HARO. If you're the one who hems and haws and wants to craft just the exactly perfect response, and you think, oh, well, I'm really busy with this right now, I'm packing, shipments to go out, I'll get to it later tonight, you've already missed the boat. If you actually miss the deadline that is stated on the HARO query, don't even bother responding, because HARO will not deliver your response to the journalist. But even if you're just a few hours late, I mean, the journalist is already going to have gotten 50 responses, and maybe the first 5 that he read met his needs. And it would take a really special person to continue reading after they got everything they needed from the first 5. So you want to be one of the first ones to respond. So the first criteria, it's fast. The second criteria for a good response on HARO is that it's complete. So answer every question that is on there. Provide all the information that was requested in the order that it was requested. If they ask for a headshot, provide a headshot, but do not attach a photo to your HARO response, because it's not delivered that way. You do need to provide a link to your headshot. And
you could put it on Dropbox or something like that.
Absolutely. I even keep a little invisible page on my website that's there, or Dropbox or Google Drive is perfect. And the final thing that makes for a good HARO response is that it is thorough. You got to answer the question with more details than you even think is necessary. I mean, it's possible there's an angle to the story that the reporter hasn't thought of themselves or didn't know about. Go ahead and practically write the story for them. I have done so. Make the job as easy as possible for them, because they may be more likely to include your response then.
Yeah. Okay. You're inspiring me to get back on HARO. I have it on pause right now because I was getting too many emails.
Yes.
A little hack for that is I set up a separate folder, so they just go in their own HARO folder. And then, but I used to go in there a couple times a week, and I'd go back and look at like a couple days past emails. But now I know that I should really just focus on that day's emails. Forget about what came yesterday and the day before.
You should focus on that. They come out morning, noon, and night.
Right.
If you're interested in looking at the one from the morning, look in the morning. Don't look at the morning one in the night. Even though some of them do have, a deadline that's 3 or 4 days later, I'm not saying there's no reason to respond. I'm saying that if you're going to spend effort on this, do it in a timely manner.
Right. And if it's overwhelming, which it is, don't even check yesterday's email. Just look at the one that you got today.
Because that will really stress you out, because then you're also going to see all the ones, oh, I could have responded to that one and now I missed it. So what's past is past.
I'm a big believer in reaching out when I need help. 45 minutes with an expert can save me hours or even months of work. Do you feel like you hit a wall with what you can figure out on your own? Or do you have an idea that you really need to bounce off someone who gets pet parents? I'm now offering one-on-one coaching to give you the help you need to spend less time working and more time with your pet. These coaching sessions are designed to help you with your marketing, social media strategy, goal setting, and overall vision for the impact you make in the lives of pets and their people. Learn more and book a call with me. All the info can be found at wherewagrepeat.com/courses. And as always, if you have any questions about if this is right for you, just reach out and ask. You know where to find me. So, okay, another thing that has kind of held me up in HARO is that a lot of times the pet-related questions or queries are looking for a veterinarian or a certified professional trainer or some sort of credentialed person. Whereas a lot of us have expertise, but we're not necessarily certified in it. So what do you think about replying to those kind of queries?
In my experience, they're kind of a waste of time. If it does say animal behaviorist, that's a little bit of a gray area. That person isn't looking for a veterinarian, but the ones who are looking for a veterinarian are looking for a veterinarian. Don't waste your time. That being said, you have to dig deep because many of them don't ask for. I've been in Pop Sugar, I've been in NBC News, U.S. News and World Report, all of these on pet-related topics, and I'm not a veterinarian and I'm not an animal behaviorist. That being said, pet businesses should not just be looking at pet-only HARO responses. There are a lot of other categories, or at least, one major category that you can reply to, and you don't need to be an expert. So I tend to reply to a lot of the business related questions. I responded, I was in one, I think this one was LegalZoom, entrepreneurs over the age of 50, and all kinds of, questions about e-commerce and about blogging. And there's no reason not to answer those because you'll get the same little bump in your domain authority from those as you will from one of the pet ones.
And you might be a more unique expert, since you're in the pet industry instead of someone who's in finance or something that there's a lot of people already submitting for it.
Right. I actually think that is why I've gotten included in a lot of these articles because frankly, my little headshot actually is a picture of me with a cat in one of my products.
Of course.
It's a fun picture. Everybody else has got a boring headshot and I've got a cat in a milk carton. So I do think that may be one of the reasons that I've been included.
Yeah. So good photo, thorough response, and reply immediately.
Exactly. Exactly.
So after you get this coverage, you submit, they, I guess, write back and say thank you. Do they usually send you the finished link or do you have to find it on your own? How does that work?
Well, I will say you'll never probably hear from them ever again. So whether they include you or not, you may not be. You may never hear from them ever again. Now, the HARO rule is that if they include you, they're supposed to send you the link. That doesn't always happen. So I was Googling myself recently, and I found out I'd been in another Reader's Digest article. The person never let me know, which is, it was a happy little, treasure hunt that I, found a little treasure. But they're supposed to have let you know. Now, let's say they do the right thing and they do let you know. There's a couple things that you can do afterwards for yourself. I don't know if this is something that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing you should do is actually write the thank you note to the journalist, the thank you note that you're not going to get from them. And the reason that you do that is, of course, it's the right thing to do. But the second thing is you want to maintain a good relationship with these freelance writers because they write for multiple publications. And if they're ever revisiting a topic and remember how easy you were to work with or how pleasant, there's a chance that they'll use you again. I have been in Pop Sugar a couple times, and now I know I've been in Reader's Digest a couple of times too. And I don't know if that was just luck or because of their good experience with me. So the first thing you do is write the thank you note. The second thing I always do is promote the exposure on my own website. So I do this in a couple of places. You've seen my website now, so I've got a little sort of static graphic on the front page that just has the logos from the more prestigious press that I've gotten. So that's on my front page. I do, as you pointed out earlier, have a press page, which is just a list and with links to all the articles. And I call that my In the Muse page.
Yes, I saw that. I like that.
Little cat humor. And finally, if it's a very prestigious bit of press, I will usually put out a little blog post on that so that anybody who is, looking through my blog post will see, that'll just pop up in and amongst the others. And so, for example, I was in the print version of First for Women, the magazine that you get at the grocery store checkout line. And so that was a pretty big deal. So I did write a little blog post about that. And so the second thing that I do after I thank the journalist, or third thing, I guess, thank the journalist, put it on my website, is I do promote that link on social media. And the journalists really do like when you do that. So if it's a business related article, I usually post it on LinkedIn and Twitter. I know that my cat peeps are not going to care about the, mompreneur article or whatever. So I want to be mindful of my audience when I'm thinking about where I post. And if it's a niche related story, as you were talking about, something having to do with pets or cats, I do post that on my business Facebook page. And I currently have about 9,000 followers on Instagram. When you get the 10,000 followers, I will run an Instagram story on a pet related thing as a kind of service to other, pet people who might be interested in the story.
Right.
And then the last thing that I do is I include it in my email marketing. So I do email my customers once a week, and I include my latest blog post and whatever other business news that's in there. But I have a little thing on the bottom that says, I was so honored to appear in X, Y, and Z with a little bit of a link. Now, I don't know if anybody actually clicks on that. I have no idea. Maybe they see it, maybe they don't. It's all the way at the bottom. But if anybody does see it, I would like to think that it confers, some gravitas on me and my business, or that other people think either I'm an expert on cats or pets, or that I'm a serious business owner. So there it is.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many benefits. Like you said, even if it's not, maybe you get this fantastic coverage that you get hundreds of sales, and that's a miracle. But sometimes just having the links and then having the ability to brag about it to your own audience, that's a huge benefit in and of itself. Yeah, because you can't always control what the outlet does with your quote or your photo or the article or how they share it. Sometimes it'll be on the cover. Sometimes it'll be buried way in the back. Exactly. So you never know.
Right. And you know that if you're not necessarily going to get sales from something, and frankly, when you're in the media like this, I mean, who's reading that? They're not somebody who's out shopping for a cat playhouse at that moment, probably. I mean, even and the rare occasion when you're in the Sunday Boston Globe gift guide at Christmas time.
Yeah.
Okay, that person's shopping, but nobody else is shopping when they're reading about I don't know, how to blog or something, or what's your social media voice, or whatever other question I've answered. So they're probably not going to click and buy that minute, and they may never click and buy from me ever. But this is another way of finding the benefit in that kind of exposure.
Yeah. And I mean, just the SEO benefit, I'm always obsessed with SEO.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that is a huge benefit in and of itself, which is kind of like it's a hidden thing that you can't even really see, but it's doing stuff behind the scenes.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So Dawn, tell us now that we've talked about HARO, you've inspired me to sign back up, and also to sign up. I never was on the business list. I was always on like the lifestyle list where the pet stuff is.
Oh,
I need to sign up for the business list.
Now, I may have just clicked everything when I signed up because I don't remember choosing one or the other. And some pet things show up in other categories. So even if you're just looking for pet things, they're not always in lifestyle. Sometimes they're in general, or they're in other areas.
Oh, so I'm going to sign up for everything.
Yes.
And then what I used to do, I don't know if you do this, but just for people listening too, for like a little bit of sanity, I would just do like Apple F, like to find, and I would type in pet or dog or whatever, because scrolling through the whole email kind of makes my eyes cross.
True, but then you miss the business ones.
But then I would miss the business ones. Okay, so I'm not going to do that. All right. Okay, I'm going to sign up for everything, and I'm going to look at it all.
Or I would say to yourself, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm only going to do Mondays or something.
Yeah.
And that way you don't feel overwhelmed. It's easy for me. One of the things that I do that might be helpful to your readers is once I create an answer to something, you will find that the same questions get asked over and over and over again. So what I did was I created a little Word document that contains all my sort of frequently asked questions. And I just have a little index at the top, moms who reinvented themselves, or crafty cat toys, and I just have a little index that says, what the responses are. And I have about 48 pages. Each one is an individual response that I've already written. So I don't have to reinvent the wheel every time I respond. It's all there. I might have to tweak my answer a little bit, but sometimes I can just use it wholesale. Oh, I answered this one already. Cut and paste. It's all done.
I love that tip. That's the best tip of this whole episode.
Thank you.
I mean, I really enjoyed hearing about the science of cats' thermodynamics, but Having a Google Doc of all of your answers pre-written, that's genius. Okay. So we have to flip back to cats and pets in general. So currently you have 2 dogs and you are a foster cat mom waiting for your next
litter
delivery of the kitties.
I can't wait.
Tell us about your pets and your dogs and why it's so important to you to be surrounded by pets.
Oh, I've been an animal lover my entire life. I mean, I would take bugs in when my parents wouldn't let me have pets. We grew up with, I talked them into finally letting me get birds and guinea pigs and rabbits, rats. We've had so many pet rats. I finally talked them into letting me get a cat just as I was going off to college. But now that I'm an adult, I can have as many animals as I want. So my kids were raised with all kinds of animals, and we have always been involved in rescue. It was really important for me when my kids were younger to do something that gives back. And so we used to walk racing greyhounds every single summer. We were volunteers for Mainly Rat Rescue, which is an amazing, amazing organization. And we always, of course, have rescue dogs and cats. So my current 2 dogs are very elderly. She's sitting right next to me right now, almost 13-year-old. We don't know exactly because she's a rescue. Great Pyrenees, who is just as sweet as can be, and her name is Stella. And we actually share custody of a black lab named Ziti with my daughter. My daughter raised her for Guiding Eyes for the Blind while she was in college. And the dog went off to Guiding Eyes training, but she was actually released due to skin infections while my daughter was studying abroad. So we picked her up. We actually had her full-time for about 2 years while my daughter finished school. And now that my daughter's in grad school, we sort of share custody of her. So, and she's just pure chaos, as you can imagine a very exuberant black lab would be.
Oh, I was going to say she must be so well trained because she's well guide dog dropout.
She's extremely well trained, and she's very, very obedient, but she's such a bundle of energy, and you have to. And as you know, exercise is the most important thing with dogs, and she needs a lot of exercise. So we have to make sure we meet her needs.
Yeah, definitely. That was the number one thing when I met my dog Bert when he was in the shelter. He was like bouncing off the walls, literally. Yes. And I was not afraid of that or fazed by it at all because I just said he just needs more exercise. And if he comes and lives with me, he'll get plenty of exercise. And now he's sleeps next to me all day long. So
you need my Ziti is what you need.
Yes. Send her down here and she'll run around with us and she'll be tired.
She needs a 10-mile run like twice a day. That's literally what she needs to be.
Oh, well, we don't quite do that. In that case, I would just say, wait for her to get older.
She's 4. When is she going to get older?
Like 8. Well, Dawn, it's been such a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for sharing this valuable information. I know you've at least inspired me to get back on HARO, and hopefully some other people will as well. But tell everyone where can they find you online, and where can they see the cat in the box and learn more about your products?
Well, my website is thecatisinthebox.com, and you could, of course, also find me on Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook, and it's various versions of The Cat is in the Box. On Instagram, it's the.cat.is.in the, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
You get the idea.
Good. Well, we'll all look for you. And of course, if anyone needs to find Dawn, you can look at the show notes for this episode. And I will link to everything there. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much for having me, Tori. It was really a joy to talk to you.
What did you like most about this episode? Find me on Instagram @TMystic and let me know what intrigued you or what questions you have about starting or growing your own dog-inspired business. You can also screenshot this episode and tag me in your stories. I love to see who is listening out there. Some of the best conversations happen after the episode, right? So track me down over on Instagram or join the Wear, Wag, Repeat Labs Facebook group to connect with other dog-obsessed entrepreneurs. And as always, you can find all the links and resources discussed in this episode at wearwagrepeat.com/podcast. See you back here next week.